Welcome, everyone, to another Conversations in the Void. I am Graveyard, joined by my off-screen producer, Salem, as always, and we have an exciting show for you guys tonight. I've been recently introduced to the work that she's doing in Acrostar Films. She is producer, actor, and voiceover artist, the one and only Ann Myrna.
Hello.
Hello. How you doing tonight? Yes.
I'm good.
It's a good first day of spring, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. It's a little cold here today, but we'll take it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. But let's start off with some, just get to know Ann a little bit and what you do. So I said you're voice actor, you're an actor, and you're vice president of Acrostar. And I did look at other production stuff that you did. That your bio said you kind of quit acting for about 40 years. You said.
Yeah. So I was in plays in high school. Went to a small Catholic high school. We did one musical per year, and I was also in the chorus. So most of the people in the chorus, if they auditioned, they got cast, and had a lot of fun doing that. And then I went to college and got a degree and started working in information technology. Eventually had a couple kids, got busy with life, and didn't even really think about acting until a friend of mine was talking about making a bucket list. So this is when I was in my 50s. And her bucket list was full of exotic places to travel in the world. And she's actually checked a lot of those off so far. But I'm thinking, I guess I'm at the age when I'm supposed to have a bucket list, but I don't have one. What should I put on my bucket list? And watching a lot of network TV and seeing a lot of shows that they film in Chicago, like Chicago Med, Chicago Fire, and Chicago PD. And I'm thinking, okay, I've got a bucket list item. I want to be on one of those TV shows. So I started doing research on Facebook and figuring out who did the casting for background extra actors, and followed that for a while, tried to figure out what the process was. And they were filming in a suburb of Chicago. We're making a big deal out of the fact that, well, you need to have a car to get there. Like, you can't take public transportation. Well, I live out in the suburbs, so of course I have a car. I had a minivan at the time because we're younger. And so I submitted myself. I got booked. My car got booked as well. And I was very, very stoked because I was going to be on national TV. Told all my friends. And I was placed nicely in a scene, right near the principal actors. And they did not use that footage. And I did not know that they filmed more stuff than they actually need. So I was greatly embarrassed. I had a great time on set. My car made it into the episode, but I did not. And then did a little more background acting and talking to people, in networking, saying, oh, you should get a talent agent, you should take acting classes, all this kind of stuff. And I did. And part of that networking was to learn about independent films. So even though I have a couple talent agents, the opportunities for people who fit my profile are kind of small. Like, if I was younger, there would be a lot more opportunities, but for older actors, there just aren't as many roles available. So I thought, well, I'm going to get experience through this indie film thing. And found some websites where you could submit. There's a lot of casting notices on Backstage as well, and ran across this small group called Acrostar Films at the time. We're now Acrostar Productions, but I just really liked the writing. One kind of hazard with indie films sometimes is they can have a decent plot, but sometimes, to me, they don't end well. They just kind of end, and all of a sudden the credits roll, and you're like, oh wait, what happened to the story? So I'm really big on the story. I'll take multiple types of roles, but I like there to be a decent story there. And I really liked the writing that Steve Herman did. And so he is an independent author turned filmmaker. So he just decided that he would like to see his books made into films, and decided to do that himself. So taught himself how to be a filmmaker, bought a nice camera, learned all the editing tricks and cinematographic techniques and stuff, and started a small production company. And so when I met him, he was in the middle of a production. There happened to be a role for my age group. I auditioned. He did not cast me, but I did ask if I could help with anything behind the scenes. So started working with him in that capacity, and then eventually became a producer. And then he and I are now business partners.
Awesome, awesome. And I know some of your stuff, especially Acrostar, is horror films, right? Indie horror films.
Yes, yeah, horror, supernatural. Those are the types of things that Steve likes to write.
Now, do you consider yourself a big fan of the horror world or supernatural stuff?
Like I'm not like a diehard fan, but I have kind of had an inclination toward horror, kind of going back to when I was a teenager.
Hmm.
So this would have been in the, or let's just say early 70s. Um, uh, a couple cousins of mine were going to see Count Yorga Vampire. And my parents were like, "Oh no, you can't go see that. That's awful. That's an awful kind of movie." And I'm like, "I'm going to go see that movie." So I kind of went and then told them after the fact. But I think that is the first horror movie that I ever saw. Because again, back in the day, no cable TV or anything like
Hmm.
that. We had a black and white TV at home with 3 channels on it that my father controlled. So we watched, whatever he wanted to watch. But then as I grew older, especially right after college, I had moved. I grew up in South Bend, Indiana, and I had moved to Dallas, Texas, took a job with Texas Instruments as a computer programmer.
Oh,
And there were a bunch of us who were just fresh out of college who had transplanted to Dallas from the Midwest. And like on the weekends, we would just hang out at each other's apartments and stuff. And back in the day, good old Blockbuster, we would rent. And I don't know why we did this repeatedly, but The Hills Have Eyes and Texas Chainsaw Massacre were like our favorite things to rent. And we would rent the same films over and over and over again and drink beer and just, have a good time kind of thing. So that's, kind of like my horror roots are in that era of time, which is quite a long time ago. So I'm not really schooled on all like the franchises with the multiple movies and everything. Plus, I had children in 1990, so the 90s. I was just trying to stay awake and functioning and feed the children and keep them clean. So there really was no time for entertainment for me in the early 90s because my kids were little then.
right. Now, I mean, would you say that found footage, especially indie found footage, has become such a huge resurgence? I feel like I always compare it to what we're going through now, like the '80s, where the video nasties, where people just record movies, put it on VHS, and you make copies of copies of copy to do it. But now I think with technology, we've been able to replicate that with stuff like Tubi and Shutter and stuff like that. I mean, how do you feel like for you in
I
being
mean,
in it?
Acrostar has not done a found footage film, and I have not been in any of those myself because I do, work with other folks
Mhm.
as well. Um, I think it's kind of a cool look to it, and I think there's something about it that can really make your heart race in terms of like building suspense and anticipation and stuff like that. And again, I haven't been involved in one to
Mhm.
know like from behind the scenes what sort of planning does it take to get that look and pull that look off. I imagine it takes quite a bit because I mean one thing that I see as a producer is really how many pieces of the puzzle have to be in place for just one scene to
Mhm.
take place the way it's envisioned. As an actor, you work on your character, you learn your lines, you learn your relationships with the other characters, but there's just so much more to making a film, or like I say, even filming one scene than just what the actor has to do. There's just so much around it, lighting and
Right.
the location and the angles of photography and all that kind of stuff. There's just so much to it.
Well, I did just mean just found footage, but like indie horror as a whole is just I think the resurgence is there and the craving is there because Hollywood isn't really producing all the horror that we want anymore. Right now, we're able to film
Right.
stuff ourselves for a lot cheaper.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean you can do decent stuff with an iPhone, so you don't have to have an expensive camera. Lighting
Mhm.
is very important. Sound is vital. And I think a lot of people are just kind of tired of what Hollywood produces and maybe tired of the way that Hollywood doesn't necessarily value the horror genre
Mhm.
like they value some other, types of films. So yeah, there's tons out there, and that's why it's difficult in terms of fundraising
Hmm.
There are so many campaigns out there, and I mean, I'm always pounding the pavement, asking people for money. I have to do it every day.
Right.
It's not the most fun part of my job, but we really can't make movies without support from other people. And I feel that for the other filmmakers, so I will donate to other people's campaigns as well. I mean, I'm not buying an executive producer credit or anything like that, and I don't even necessarily want, IMDb credits. I will just make a contribution, not necessarily grab a perk, just to help them out and
Right.
to it's a little bit of collaboration. We would like to collaborate with other filmmakers in a bigger way than that. Maybe do productions together. Maybe support a new studio type effort that is being built. There's all different ways to collaborate.
Right. Yeah, and I said I have streaming, the link to your guys' Indiegogo fund right now. I think with stuff Kickstarter, Indiegogo, I think from what I've seen, it's a good way to help fund these movies because they do take funds, but they also take, as we talked before, a good story, a good arc, a good driving selling point, and I think that is crucial for all these parts, right? I mean, you may not have the best special effects in your movie, but I think with indie horror, the story is being more prevalent than anything else, just because that's what we really have.
Yeah, absolutely. And with anybody who's making a film, I mean, I think indie filmmakers are really good at utilizing the resources they have at hand.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of us on set will wear multiple hats. I mean, I've been known to hold the boom mic. Like I'm learning about lighting and stuff like that. I'm not necessarily the best in terms of all of the crew type positions, but people are just very helpful on set,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone who's there is there because they want to be there, not necessarily because they're getting a paycheck or getting a big payout in the end. So I would like to talk a little bit about, kind of the myth that indie filmmakers will make all this money on the back end. So, one of your goals is you make the movie so that people can see the movie. So you want to get it on as many platforms as you possibly can.
Right.
So you can submit directly to like Amazon Prime Video. We submit directly to that. Others like Tubi, you cannot submit directly to them. You have to go through somebody who has a business relationship with them. So Film Hub is a popular one. Indie Rights is another popular one, and then there are bigger distributors. Unless you get really lucky and have a spectacular film, you don't make much money after the film is released. And I mean, I'm speaking from my own personal experience, and I think a lot of filmmakers would agree if they're willing to be honest about it. I mean, it's great to say, oh yeah, we have worldwide distribution, which we do on our films. I mean, they're on platforms that can be seen all around the world. People have asked me if they could have an equity stake in our films, and I'm like, well, yes, but I'm also like an honest person, and you're not gonna make a lot of money on the back end because we're not making a lot of money. Like I'd be happy to give up a percentage of it, but a percentage of a really small number, there's just not that much value there right now for where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
We have plans to, grow and go beyond that and stuff. But even in talking to some of the larger indie filmmakers, the reason they still crowdfund is because that money is not there on the back end.
Right.
Distributors pay differently than they did several years ago. They pay less. They give you less upfront. They have all these marketing expenses that you have to recap before you can start to take any profit. So it's a long haul to try to make money off the back end of a film that's being distributed.
Yeah, for the people I've talked to, especially on the show, and talk about indie, filmmakers, that their goal is just to fund the next movie at this point, right?
Right. Yeah, you could just go from movie to movie, and yeah, you're not able to necessarily make a living off of it. I mean, it'd be great if you could, but another attitude toward the crowdfunding is that, well, the filmmaker should be, saving their own money and making the films and stuff, and you can, but you would make very few films that way.
Right.
So we kind of like going out to the community to get some help so that we can make more films and give actors more opportunities and crew people more opportunities and everything.
Yeah, and what you're describing, we're in the many hats on the stuff. It reminds me when my producer and I got to talk to John Dugan, the grandpa from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that when they did that, it was a family affair. You did everything you possibly could because it's such a small crew. And you think about Texas Chainsaw being like this huge movie, this huge, big movie, but it really wasn't. It was a small, independent movie that it was a really close-knit group of people. And that's why I like about the horror world is it seems to be family. It seems to be people that have the same goals. They're not there just to make the quick buck, as you said. The passion's there, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's room in the world for bunches and bunches of movies. So the fact that there are other filmmakers maybe, like competing for the same crowdfunding dollars that we are, we don't really view it as competition. We just view it as another piece of art that's going to be out there along with the art that we're creating.
Yeah, I from the experience I've had with, so I started this back in October-ish last year. It's a really close-knit group of people too. It really feels like it. It's like everyone knows everyone.
Yep. Yeah, and actually, I just got an email today. I'm in the Chicago area, and it's there are several filmmakers here in Illinois. Kind of let's get together. Let's see how we can collaborate. Let's at least support what each other are doing, which I think is a wonderful thing to have happen.
Yeah, and that kind of ties into Acrostar and what you guys are doing because you have correct me, how many? 11 films or 14?
I don't know. I have to count them. I just put up a graphic yesterday or today that had them kind of grouped by ones that were produced under the Acrostar Films label and then ones that are coming under Acrostar Productions. And I don't remember what the count is. Sorry.
I saw the post and I forgot it too. That's my fault.
Yeah, it's something like that.
But you guys seem to have a crazy amount already in production, in post, and pre-production right now too.
Yeah, well, Steve Furman has a lot of energy, so he's kind of the creative genius behind everything. He has some films were adapted from books or short stories that he had already written, and then some are just crazy ideas that happen. A good example of that is Attack of the Corn Zombies.
Yeah.
So we tend to film in Central Illinois because it's easier than trying to film in Chicago for a lot of reasons, and less expensive. And so we were renting this Airbnb that was in a really small town. It's like surrounded by cornfields, literally surrounded by cornfields. And they had a fire pit that was kind of close to the cornfield. So at night, after we had wrapped for the day, we were sitting around the campfire, and the cornfields were right there. So the younger folks started running around in the corn that was like taller than your head. I didn't want to go in there because there's probably bugs in there. And they're, they have their cell phones, are making videos and TikToks and all kinds of crazy stuff. And everybody's like, Steve, we should do a zombie movie. And he's like, oh, market's kind of saturated. Let me think about it. And he thought about it for like 2 seconds and asked everybody, well, if we did one, would you guys want to be in it? And we're like, yeah, pick me. Definitely. And so since it originated in a cornfield, it was attacking the corn zombies. And so people became zombies because they ate corn that was tainted with a super duped up fertilizer that was supposed to increase the crop or whatever. And then we decided to set it in the 60s because that would be fun. And then you can have like some stereotypical groups of people like hippies and like greasers, and they, kind of don't get along, those two groups. So we were able to develop a large cast because everybody that we knew wanted to be in the movie.
That's awesome. But with all the stuff you've been acting in and producing, to you, what has been the hardest scene to do? Either acting or producing.
Hardest scene to do. There's one that's coming up in Night of the Dead Sorority Babes that will take a lot of focus from an actor perspective. I'll just kind of leave it at that. I mean, like the zombie thing was hard physically.
Hmm.
And you can watch Attack of the Corn Zombies on the Acrostar YouTube channel. It's got like 6,000 views almost now. Um, it was hard physically because I had to get on the ground in the garage on the cement floor and eat someone's guts when I was a zombie. So it was just like my knees were killing me by the time that was done. And then you have to like be growling and stuff like that. So my throat kind of got a little wrenched out. From a producer's perspective, I would say like the hardest thing just in general is to coordinate all the actors.
Mm.
So I do things like contracts and schedule table reads and stuff like that. And it's difficult when you've got more than like say 4 people to number one find time in people's schedules when everybody has availability, and number two to get people to just respond to you. And everybody's busy, and I get that. But it doesn't take too long to, we usually use a Facebook Messenger, like a cast chat. It doesn't take too long to read a message that says, like, are you available on Thursday? It's like a yes or no. And like, I actually need to know the answer to the question in order to do my job and get people together. And the table read is not just for the actors, but it's for the writer as well. Is the opportunity for the writer to hear the characters in the voices they're going to be performed in. And so, yeah, Steve says caffeine. You drink too much caffeine, Steve. um, yeah, I mean, it's just there's a lot of that coordination stuff. And it's also another like really difficult thing as a producer, and this kind of gets into first AD territory, really, because I do that as well because we wear multiple hats with indie films.
Yeah.
Um, doing the shooting schedule when people have conflicts during the week that you ask them to hold for you months in advance. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I can't be there on Saturday. It'd be really cool if I could leave at 2 o'clock. That's kind of the end of the day. Well, no, that's not the end of the day. Like we like to have availability from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We tend to not shoot at night unless we have to because it just you don't get the best out of everybody.
Hmm.
You're shooting at night, but yeah, if you have to do outdoor scenes and it needs to be evening, then you got to do that at night. Um, but yeah, just the whole coordination thing on the producer side is challenging. But like you always have to have a positive attitude and
Yeah.
go for that end result and get there one way or the other. And then things go wrong on set too. When we filmed the Corn Zombie, we had a person who was filming for 2 days, and after the first shooting day, she went to the emergency room, and she did not get released that night. And
Oh.
so we adapted the script a little. We did a body double thing. No one has mentioned that they, could tell that that wasn't her. Had to be kind of a little strategic about it. But again, when there are problems, producers are problem solver. So when there are problems, there are several alternatives. You evaluate the alternatives and you pick one because you have to and move on.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's weekend warriors for a lot of stuff I do just because full-time job during the week. Try to make availability. I take off as work as needed too, but yeah, scheduling is a pain. I see that.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your proof of concept that's out right now with the Kickstarter or the Indiegogo that you guys have going right now. Night of the Dead Sorority Babes.
Yes.
I
So
did watch the proof of concept.
Yeah, what do you think?
I like it. I like especially the ending. It's like a reel of things to come too, right? You have stuff setting up the feature length film that you guys are currently funding right now. So let's start off as a relatively short beef first, right? And then it became the proof of concept. Is that correct?
Well, typically what we do is film several, when we're planning to do a feature, we will film several scenes from it and create a teaser and use that as the video on Indiegogo to fund the feature film. And when we talked about this one, we said, well, like people like hot women, and we have a cast of hot women and two old women, and and Lynn Lowry, the other older woman, is very, very popular and iconic horror actress. So maybe we could give people more bang for their buck if rather than just filming a teaser, we film a short. And so people could, it would have its own IMDb page. People could earn credits on two films that way. And we offer to give discounts. Like if you were in on on the short, you could get a discount on a perk of your choice on the feature. Not very many people have taken me up on that offer, but if anybody wants to give me a holler, I will set you up with a discount if you participated in the first short film. So we did this one a little different than we normally do. Like, was it a good idea, a bad idea? I can't tell yet. I think people have liked the short film. There's only there's less. Well, I don't want to give away too much. There's less violence and less skin showing in the short film than there will be in the feature. So we were able to put the short on YouTube so that a lot of people can see it. We will not be able to put the feature on YouTube because of the restrictions they have regarding, so let's say toplessness as a particular topic. And we kind of tiptoe around that in the language on the Indiegogo campaign because there was the stretch of time when Indiegogo was like kicking horror films off, supposedly because their credit card processor thought these are.
Did I lose you? Ann, are you there? Uh-oh. All right. Let me see where Ann is at. Let me hit her up real fast. 1 second, folks. Sorry for this. The internet strikes again. It's entirely possible. Internet strikes again. Their distance learning. Let's see here. Let me hit her up on Facebook. All right. Well, hopefully Ann joins back in here in a brief second. Everyone, well, bear with me for 1 second, please. How's everyone else doing tonight? All right. Let's see. You do it, dance. That is my off-screen producer. Yeah, we all know I dance very well here. All right. We'll give Ann. You're pretty okay, Yes, I know. I'm excited for what we have coming up. Oh, there's Ann.
My laptop died.
Oh.
Like there's this like craziness on the screen. I don't know what happened. That's not good. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. I don't want your phone to die. We were coming up on the hour anyway, but I just want to make sure that we're talking about your proof of concept and everything like that. So I want to make sure everyone go check it out. I believe I have a link to it below. Also, it's in the description. I want to make sure people can go check it out just to see what you guys are doing and help kickstart or Indiegogo this and go from there. I'm excited to see where it goes only from here, just because
awesome.
More blood, more violence. I don't want to spoil anything, but maybe there'll be more stuff that you take out of somebody.
Yeah, we're kind of yeah. If you watch the short, cannibals, which cannibals? I don't know. I don't know what we are. We are supernatural entities of some variety.
Yes. Awesome. So like I said, everyone wants to check it out. The link is going across right now. The link is in the description as well. But let's get into some of these wrap-up questions. You ready, Ann?
Sure.
All right. What is your favorite horror movie?
I would have to say Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, of course.
Yes, for sure. I love that movie to no end. It's classic for a reason, right?
Yeah.
All right, with being an actor and producer and being an independent world, I kind of probably guessed this answer this question. But what's better, practical or CGI?
Oh, we like practical. I like practical. Yeah. I mean, you
Yeah,
can do cool stuff with CGI, but I mean, you have to be like so good with CGI in order for it to not be hokey.
right, for sure. If you could work in any IP or franchise, what would it be? Doesn't have to be horror. Anything as an actor.
Uh, I don't know. I don't really have my sights set there, so I don't know. I mean, people sometimes they have like, a role to die for, whatever. I just like to keep my eyes open to the opportunities that come my way.
But was there any movie that you'd like to produce or do? Like, would you like to do a paranormal activity or, another independent horror film? Like, would you want to do a Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
I don't know. I mean, to me, it's it's hard to capture the same uniqueness
Mm-hmm.
that you have with those originals. And I don't like I'm not big on fan films. Some indie filmmakers make fan films. They, collect a lot of money when they campaign for them, whatever. I like original ideas. And there's something about it being like the first time because I mean, you discover things about characters throughout the story.
Right.
And if you're reusing a character, so much has already been discovered about them that I think you lose some of that spark that you have with original stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I would like to see Steve write a corn zombies versus Children of the Corn.
There you go.
I think that'd be a great crossover.
We'll add that to the list.
There you go. So any advice for anyone getting into the field, whether it be acting or producing or indie filmmaking as a whole?
Just be a good human. Be nice to people. Um, if you run across something that you don't care for, just keep moving forward. Like you don't have to make a big deal out of it. You don't have to pontificate. You don't have to blow out your ego. Just be a nice person and network with people. Value what they bring to the table and bring what you can bring.
Yeah, I love that. Like I said, this indie horror film community I've seen is so close knit. I've been meeting awesome people like yourself, and just being able to interview everyone in the indie horror world too, just because it's a great community I have found. I've loved
Yeah,
it so much.
agree. Yeah, thanks.
All right, you ready for your random horror trivia
I'll
question?
I'll do my best.
All right. Where are the phone calls coming from in the movie when the stranger calls?
Oh God, I don't know. I told you I'm not good at the trivia.
All right. They're coming from inside the house.
I was gonna say that because it's like kind of like the obvious thing, but I'm like I'm probably wrong. So
Oh no, it's exactly where the movie. It's exactly where it came from. Was that movie that saying that trope
okay.
that now exists? So, all right. So, and before we wrap up, can you give us your pluggals? Where can people find you on social media and everything you do with Acrostar?
I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Just search for Ann Myrna. I think there's only one of me. Um, and my profiles are public, so just feel free to follow along. You can also search on Facebook. Probably the easiest thing to do is go to acrostarfilms.com. And we have links to our Facebook group on there. We've got a group of over 5,000 people. And we let other people in the group post. There's a lot of our stuff in there, of course, but we do let other people post either their talents or films they're working on and crowdfunding campaigns and stuff like that. We do have an Acrostar Productions website that's pretty brand new, so there's just some high level information there, and then links to the films one, and then you can search for us on YouTube as well. We have quite a few pieces, shorts and stuff, and Attack of the Corn Zombies out on our YouTube channel.
Awesome. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you coming on tonight. And for everyone that knows me, I'm Graveyard. You will find me and my off-screen producer at everything at Pod Out at Night. Make sure to check us out. We have new podcast episodes releasing every Wednesday at Comic Con Radio. A week after that on Spotify. And check out everything I'm doing with Horror Raven. We are doing new shorts and films 2024 is going to be a huge year for us as we just started this production company ourselves. So I'm excited. And thank you, Ann, once again for joining us tonight. And make sure to not get lost in the void. We'll see you next week.
Thanks. Good night.